Hello YouTube viewers. This is a Kenmore 158.19412 sewing machine from the late 70s. This model is also known as the 1941. You will find models that are 19410, 19411, and 19412. I believe that depends on when they were made, but the model is generally the 1941. I purchased this on eBay, and it has a problem that the feed dogs are out of alignment. And I figured out how to solve that problem and realign the feed dogs. So I wanted to share that with anyone who has one of these machines and the feed dogs aren't working properly. The shoe is removed by pressing this button right here. Now on some of the earlier models, there is a different location for the shoe release button. The shoe is then released. It comes right off. And there's two metal parts that you can see that keep the shoe in place. This little one was actually loose and in this part of the machine when it arrived. Fortunately, I was able to find the screw and reinstall it. Now the next step is to remove the bottom of the machine to access the parts that operate the feed dogs. An important point I noticed is this little notch right here, which is part of the bottom. You kind of have to move the part to get it out of this notch in the machine base. I've seen it where this is actually broken off on some machines. Be sure to lower the presser foot arm before you put the machine on its side. On the bottom, there are 5 screws to remove. It would be handy if you have one of those magnetic trays to put the screws while you're working on the machine so you do not lose them. You have a screw here, a screw here, a screw here, a screw here, and this screw here. This screw is the only one that is different than all the other screws for the machine, and it's the longest one. When the machine arrived, I noticed that one of the screws on this plate was missing, this one. It was contained in a box of accessories. So I put the screw back, and I noticed when I operated the feed dogs moved all the way to the end here and loosened the entire plate. Obviously there was something out of alignment with the feed dogs, and I proceeded to find out. Here is the bottom of the machine. I'm going to be servicing the gear here and putting in fresh grease, as this grease, I've taken the screws out, is probably the original grease. And as to the feed dogs, which were moving too much forward and backward, I found the location where to adjust them. This screw right here adjusts the forward and backward distance of movement. And behind this piece right here, which I'm going to remove, it's a spring for the buttonhole attachment. That is the screw you can undo to adjust the height of the feed dogs. I have loosened the forward-backward screw to show you. Now, the feed dog should not go all the way back here or all the way here, because that will result in loosening of this entire plate, which is what I encountered when I received the machine from eBay, and this screw was missing. When adjusting this screw, you need to look on the other side of the machine to determine where the feed dogs are located and tighten it. I've now adjusted the forward and backward, and the feed dogs are not going all the way to the end. There's enough clearance on both ends, so it will not lift the plate. In addition to adjusting the forward and backward, or backward and forward of the feed dogs, there's also a height adjustment. On this machine, I noticed that this screw right here, which goes to this whole part over here, was loose. I tightened it. However, the location to adjust the feed dog height is right here. And that's where you want it in the rotation to be about the height of a dime. I also noticed that when the feed dogs were dropped with this lever right here, the bullet over here was not completely going back. And that was because this piece was out of alignment, so I adjusted this screw right here while it was in the closed position. I do want to show you that sometimes this lever can be too tight. This one it's loose, but I did have a machine that it was tight and it wasn't the little bullet piece. This piece can come out. This is the last adjustment where I lowered this part, and the height of this should be determined by the lowest position of this part here when it comes down. Now that I have the feed dogs all adjusted, it's time to put the sewing machine back together and try it out. One last point, when reinstalling this piece, do not over tighten it because this part needs to move when using the buttonhole attachment.